In the 16th century, pepper could fetch a fortune. Cinnamon, cloves, and nutmeg carried the stink of money. Europe wanted them badly. Then Vasco da Gama reached India by sea in 1498. Portugal had found a direct eastern route, and every rival took notice. The race turned ugly. Kings, merchants, and captains fought over ports, islands, and shipping lanes. Taste was only part of it. Spices advertised wealth. They impressed guests, filled royal kitchens, and marked their owners as people of consequence. Behind that frenzy, a quieter circle watched the market tighten. They fed demand, steered deals, and kept rivals clawing at each other. Few noticed the pattern. That suited them perfectly. Every shortage raised prices. Every naval clash shifted influence. Every treaty opened another door. Spices became weapons, small, fragrant, and brutally effective. European powers boasted about discovery and conquest. Meanwhile, hidden brokers turned ambition into profit. They didn't need crowns or armies. They needed appetite, fear, and men greedy enough to mistake manipulation for destiny. At the start of the 17th century, alliances took shape after dark, quietly. The circle drew in wealthy merchants, outlaw sailors, and nobles driven into exile. They met in smoky taverns and half-forgotten ports scattered along the trade routes. Influence was the prize. Spice cargoes gave them money, cover, and contacts in every useful harbor. Soon, their network stretched across borders and rival empires. Deals happened in back rooms. So did sabotage. They redirected shipments, squeezed competitors, and decided which partners would prosper or bleed. Their headquarters looked painfully ordinary. Warehouses near the docks, damp, windowless, and easy to ignore. Inside, voices stayed low. Secrets carried weight. Meanwhile, chartered giants such as the Dutch East India Company were rising fast. The timing mattered. Members played courts and trading houses against one another. They fed disputes when conflict paid. When danger threatened profits, they closed ranks and made temporary allies. Most ordinary people never knew their names. They still felt the results. Prices shifted. Cargoes vanished. Ports declined while others boomed. From the shadows, this ruthless club bent the spice trade toward its own pockets. Psychological tricks sat at the heart of the Brotherhood strategy. Their methods appeared centuries before the modern term psychological warfare. First came the rumors, then came forged letters. Soon, European powers eyed each other with suspicion. Each believed it held some hidden advantage. The lies traveled farther. Across distant shores, the Brotherhood exploited indigenous communities and old rivalries. They stirred revolts, pressured local rulers, and poked at deep cultural fears. Superstition became another weapon. Meanwhile, trade disputes flared wherever tension served their plans. Nothing looked connected. That was the point. They stayed behind the curtain, keeping their names clean and their motives buried. Maritime attacks and shipping disruptions seemed random. They weren't. Each disturbance pushed rivals toward choices the Brotherhood had already anticipated. Money mattered, of course. Influence mattered more. Chaos gave them room to move while governments stumbled into traps they couldn't see. No rules governed this game, only timing, nerve, and cold calculation. Espionage kept the Brotherhood alive. The sea hid everything. Their agents posed as deckhands, dockworkers, and merchants chasing quick profit. Nobody looked twice. Messages traveled inside silk bundles, ceramic jars, and crates fitted with false bottoms. Simple cargo, dangerous secrets. The Brotherhood played every side. It fed pirates the routes of wealthy targets, then sold safe charts to chosen allies. Rival trade suffered. Their own partners sailed clear. The network reached Malacca, Goa, and Calicut. Those ports crawled with smugglers, drunks, brokers, and sailors willing to talk. Information bought survival. Agents collected wind charts, fleet positions, cargo schedules, and rumors of secret treaties. Every scrap had value. Captains later whispered about phantom ships slipping across the horizon without lanterns. They arrived without warning, then they vanished again. These vessels served the Brotherhood's hidden web. They watched, carried messages, and steered events from the dark. Open conquest drew armies. Quiet pressure worked better. Bit by bit, the Brotherhood bent the spice trade toward its own interests. Empires fought with steel and fire. The Brotherhood preferred quieter weapons. Sabotage worked just fine. Across the Spice Islands, today's Maluku Islands in Indonesia, supply lines began to buckle. Agents played local sultans against each other. Those rulers controlled nutmeg and clove production. Panic spread fast. Loyalties cracked even faster. Crops were ruined. Wells were fouled. Resistance flared in villages. Anonymous leaflets fed old grudges and invented fresh ones. The damage kept piling up. Monopolies weakened, alliances shifted, and trade routes bent around the chaos. Exotic cargoes followed rumor, not royal orders. Some ships vanished at sea. Officials blamed freak storms. The timing looked awfully convenient. European traders turned on one another. Prices moved. Deals changed. The Brotherhood found better cover for its secret business. Then came warehouse fires and carefully planted unrest. Nobody escaped the cost. Yet the Brotherhood stayed buried in the wreckage, tightening its grip while rivals bled strength. European expansionists liked clean categories, ruler and subject, victor and defeated. The Brotherhood didn't. It lived in the murk. Members struck deals across rival camps, then pledged loyalty whenever the moment demanded it. Nothing stayed fixed for long. They courted nobles, royal households, trusted advisors, county lords, and plantation owners. Some alliances were real, others were bait. Either way, the Brotherhood gained leverage over roads, ports, markets, and the flow of goods. A quiet word could shift a trade route. A favor could change its price. All the while, members claimed to serve European interests. Behind that cover, they placed native profiteers inside colonial networks and kept illicit commerce moving. Everyone needed them eventually. European officials used their contacts. Local chiefs used their access. The Brotherhood stayed hard to spot, yet somehow appeared wherever money or influence changed hands. That was the trick. Like a spider planted deep in its web, it felt every tug. Then it pulled the right thread and collected its share. The ports ran everything. Spice meant hard cash. Their docks groaned with nutmeg, dried cloves, and biting Ceylon cinnamon. Sailors, brokers, thieves, and merchants packed the streets. The Brotherhood worked inside that chaos. They arranged useful marriages between Eastern trading families and wealthy Western houses. Blood opened locked doors. Soon their people sat beside rulers as consuls, advisors, and trusted friends. From there, they leaned on trade policy. Lisbon was in play, so were Venice and Amsterdam. Tariffs became obstacles to dodge, not bills to pay. Cargo changed hands, names, and channels before customs officers could catch up. Even a tiny toll adjustment could start a vicious bidding war. The Brotherhood still collected. They meddled with port valuations, market permits, auction scales, and official weigh-ins. A few ounces here, a favorable ruling there. Each small fix pushed prices their way. Most townspeople never noticed. They kept bargaining, hauling crates, and counting coins. Behind them, the Brotherhood balanced an unseen ledger. Somehow, it always showed profit. Spices were luxuries, and the Brotherhood knew exactly how to squeeze that hunger. They tightened supply. Prices climbed fast. Desire climbed with them. Soon, scarcity itself became part of the sales pitch. Buyers weren't purchasing flavor alone. They were buying rank, access, and a seat near power. The Brotherhood fed that vanity, quietly, ruthlessly. Masked sell-offs created brief flashes of availability, enough to keep merchants scrambling. In banquet halls, rare spices sat on tables like trophies. Everyone noticed. That mattered. Behind closed doors, brokers whispered about rival ships, sudden shortages, and imaginary price cuts. Most of it was smoke. Wealthy merchants still took the bait. They bought early, hoarded heavily, and drove prices higher. Then the bubble swelled again. The Brotherhood watched from the shadows and collected its cut. Every rumor pulled more money toward their coffers. Every shortage deepened the mystery. The spice might spoil in a storeroom, but the craving didn't. That was the trick. Keep people guessing. Keep them paying, and never let the market breathe. Maps guided ships. They also boxed empires in. The Brotherhood understood that early. Control the chart, and you controlled where captains sailed, traded, or vanished. Their agents worked inside map shops and royal courts. Some were trusted cartographers, others posed as seasoned advisors. They slipped false coastlines, phantom islands, and invented shoals into charts bought by merchants and kings. The lies looked convincing. That's what made them lethal. A map praised as reliable might steer a fleet toward reefs or dead winds. Strange beasts filled blank waters. Warnings marked safe passages as cursed. Few captains questioned them. Meanwhile, the Brotherhood's partners used secret routes kept off every public chart. They reached ports first. They kept the richest lanes. Empires planned invasions with poisoned information, while ambitious explorers chased oceans that existed only in colored ink. Some never came home. Others returned empty-handed. Either result served the same purpose. Whoever drew the world could quietly decide who crossed it, who profited, and who disappeared beyond the horizon. Most rulers never saw them. Yet the Brotherhood kept turning up wherever diplomats traded favors, and borders started to shift. They watched every alliance. They knew where pressure hurt. In one court, they cooled a quarrel before it became a war. In another, they fed old grudges and pushed rival kingdoms toward open conflict. Sometimes they arranged royal marriages. Sometimes they wrecked them. Spies did the dirtier work. Letters vanished from locked rooms. Treaties were copied overnight. A stolen seal or private confession could flip an entire negotiation by morning. Few monarchs caught on. Court plots, paid advisors, and unwanted mediators kept empires moving in directions the Brotherhood preferred. Some rulers cooperated. Others thought the choices were theirs. They were wrong. Every quiet intervention protected trade routes, secured scarce goods, and weakened anyone threatening the Brotherhood's grip. The reward was enormous. Steady access to commodities, private fortunes, and leverage no army could easily break. One careless royal decision could settle the board. Behind polished speeches and diplomatic manners, the Brotherhood kept winning. Quietly, of course. The Brotherhood built a web of agents, and nobody wore one face for long. A merchant at noon might be a spy by midnight, simple as that. They slipped into rival offices, customs houses, dockyards, and royal courts. From there, they bent opinions, ruined deals, and quietly burned through other men's ambitions. Local grandees couldn't stop them. Foreign elites fared no better. Messages moved inside ordinary cargo, false invoices, and hidden compartments. Nothing looked suspicious. That was the point. Companies watched their competitors, while bland-looking clerks tracked ships, prices, bribes, and private quarrels. At night, couriers carried the intelligence down to waiting vessels. Friends heard half-truths. Enemies heard worse. Confusion did the rest. Secret meetings bound the network together, though most agents remained nameless. They posed as chandlers, factors, brokers, or servants. Useful masks, all of them. They traded lies with practiced ease and guarded the Brotherhood's reach. Profit came first. Pleasure followed close behind. In their hands, business and espionage became the same dirty game. Empires crowded the spice routes, hungry for taxes, ports, and control. Local rulers and traders pushed back. Resistance became useful. The Brotherhood understood that quickly. They backed native leaders when colonial pressure grew, slipping them money, contacts, and supplies. Guns couldn't do everything. A timely revolt could empty a garrison, ruin a governor, or force an empire to bargain. Then came the real prize. In the confusion, the Brotherhood secured better trade terms, cheaper access, and treaties dressed up as fairness. They spoke loudly about native rights. It sounded noble enough. But their loyalty had limits. If local power grew too strong, funds vanished, ships stopped arriving. Promises suddenly became vague. The Brotherhood wanted resistance alive, but manageable. Victory could hurt profits, so they balanced both sides, posing as allies while guarding their grip on Eastern trade. Equality stayed in the speeches. Behind closed doors, access mattered more. That was the whole game. Support the locals, weaken the empire, then make sure nobody became strong enough to shut them out. Around 1700, new technology started changing maritime exploration and trade. The Brotherhood had to move fast. Old habits wouldn't carry them, so they seized every useful industrial advance and dressed their power in modern clothes. Shipbuilders produced stronger, more capable vessels. Navigators gained improved instruments, including increasingly accurate sextants. Printers made clearer maps faster. Their reach kept growing. New routes opened, bringing fresh chances for exploration, commerce, and invention. This quick adaptation kept the Brotherhood relevant as economies changed by the year. Even isolated regions felt it. Tradition still guarded the walls. Discovery pushed through the gates. Together, old methods and new machines tightened control over the spice routes. They also exposed coastlines and territories once left blank. Better tools protected old fortunes while carrying influence far beyond familiar ports. The Brotherhood wrote its next chapter with ink, timber, brass, and hard calculation. Merchants noticed the results. Some whispered with awe. Others understood the price of standing in its way. Europe's colonial empires rose, cracked, and spread across the oceans. The Brotherhood left few fingerprints. Most traces hid inside old ledgers, private letters, and treaties nobody questioned. Its network kept growing. Still, few knew its name. Members worked behind obscure titles and half-forgotten legends. Their influence reached kings, merchants, sailors, and common dockhands. Favors bought loyalty. Coin rewarded silence. Alliances shifted with a quiet shove from men who never appeared at court. Their map wasn't drawn in roads. It followed sea lanes, cargo holds, counting houses, and crowded ports. Generations passed. The Brotherhood stayed put. Prized goods carried its mark across the world, feeding new tastes and expensive habits. Demand spread fast. It never fully died. Ports once controlled by monarchs opened to wider trade. Sometimes one handshake changed everything. Vast fortunes followed. Yet the hands behind those deals remained hidden. The Brotherhood waited in private rooms, unseen but alert. It slept lightly. It was always there. This story begins on old trade roads, where spice winds carried money, rumors, and fear. A little-known Brotherhood controlled those roads for generations. Its history remains frustratingly thin. Names disappear from official accounts. Witnesses kept their mouths shut. Yet the pattern is clear. The Confederation survived through constant vigilance and alliances that could turn overnight. Loyalty always carried a price. Betrayal cost even more. At court, members traded favors, watched rivals, and hid their real purpose behind ceremony. Their pendants offered faint clues. The trail usually ended there. Even their titles resist explanation, blurred by later copies and convenient omissions. That suited them perfectly. Power works best off stage. Unseen hands guarded routes, settled disputes, and decided who could profit. Centuries later, their colors still surface in damaged seals and half-forgotten accounts. The evidence comes in scraps. One crest survives somewhere. Another name appears elsewhere. No grand confession remains. Still, the Brotherhood's outline refuses to disappear. What antiquity buried has returned piece by piece, and its old calling breathes again.